Y'all, it's your man Hanley from On the Line With. We're on episode 145 of Car Chats. It's been a few weeks since I've been doing it. There's been a lot going on the life side of things. So, shout out to everybody who's still rocking with it. Everybody who's been tapped in looking for new episodes and stuff. We're back tonight with Jo3.B.1 or Jo3.B.1. I think it's pronounced Jo3.B.1, but we're gonna see. Oh wow, a lot of people are tapping in, man. Thanks for everybody for jumping in. Yo, Rick Hyde, man, I appreciate you tapping in, brother. How you doing, man? Hope everything's well. Curb the Kid, hope everything's well. Michelle from Schizophrenic NYC, hope you're good. Azalea, what's up? Hope that music video with ESQ is dope today. Really appreciate everyone jumping in. Just waiting for Jo3.B.1 to come in. I'm gonna send hello, Janelle. Everybody go check out Janelle Niles. She's a comedian from where I'm at, Ottawa. She's a very great comedian. Very in tune with her indigenous roots. And I think she's absolutely hilarious. But I'll let you guys decide that. So definitely tap in with her. And as always, the show is sponsored by my guy, Fabio Navarro, out in Hobbs, New Mexico, and Diamonds Rising. So shout out to them. Nothing on right now from them, but you always know I'm always pushing their brand, so go pick up some new merch. But yeah, going live with Jo3.B.1 right now. What? Declined. There we go. What's up, bro?
What's good, man? What's
How you
good?
doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You doing all right tonight?
Yeah, it's been a few weeks since I've done an interview with anybody. It's on the life side of things. It's been a little rough, but I appreciate everyone who's still rocking with me and asking about episodes. And I'm glad that coming back to it, I got Jo3.B.1 with me because I know we've been trying to schedule it for a little bit. So, shout out to Jibba the Gent for the introduction.
Absolutely, man. And what a guy, too. What a guy.
Oh, definitely one of those rappers that could rap.
Oh, absolutely, man. I kind of discovered him by accident somewhat recently, just interacting on Facebook and checking out some of his music. And I was just like, hold up, man. We kind of ended up exchanging some stuff, man. It was really cool.
It's funny. It's happened to me the same way, kind of, because I've really been tapped into the Vermont hip-hop scene for a little bit now.
Hmm.
For maybe about half a year, maybe a little more, and like they're like a real big sleeper state, man. Like I was surprised at like how many amazing artists are coming out of Vermont for such a small state. And like, I mean, I guess because when people assume it's just a small state, there's not a lot to like that's funneling out of it. But man, there is a lot of great music coming out of that state.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's something that I need to really kind of take a dive on, man. Now that I've kind of just dipped my toe in the water, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
need to take a listen to some of the guys that are coming out of that area.
absolutely. Man, if you ever want some suggestions, just let me know and I'll send you some great suggestions. Like a few of my guys have just recently dropped projects, like Young Breeze, who Jibba the Gent has collaborated with in the past, like Rod Def as well. He's not in Vermont, but he's in New Hampshire, so close. He's in back and forth. But yeah, there's a lot of
Mm.
great MCs out there, man. But before we get started, why don't we do the regular thing first? Why don't you tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
That's what's up, man. Shout out to everybody out there that's joined in and watching us. My name is Jo3.B.1. I am the hip hop Jedi. Been making hip hop for probably about 23, 24 years. Some of them are pretty blurry from the experience. But and I'm from Galveston, Texas, a little barrier island off the Gulf Coast, right near Houston. The home of DJ Screw, the Ghetto Boy, Scarface, UGK, and so many other greats, Southern greats. So, I learned under the indirect tutelage of jamming some really great artists.
I love I love the fact that when you told me, because today I thought I had assumed just because of the way Juba introduced you was because it was another person for Vermont, because I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
like when I hear about artists I go check their music before I go check where they're located, so
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's dope, you know, I'm gonna check him out and schedule something with him. So I assumed you were from Vermont, but then today I'm like, you said Central Time. I'm like, how the hell is he Central Time? I'm like, where the hell is he at? And then you said, like, I'm from the home of DJ Screw. And right away, I was like,
Yes,
this makes
sir.
everything 10 times better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, and I kind of came up listening to a lot of very early stuff, man. I mean, a lot of the early stuff from Screw, back when Screwed Up Click was putting out stuff. And I mean, I was young, but you know, people like Fat Pat and Big Hawk that are no longer with us, and Big Mo and so many others, man, that were just instrumental to the Houston sound really getting out there. And you know, it's really cool to have experienced it right down the street. I've also spent time in Screw's shop,
That's
you know,
awesome.
off Coleman, and hung out with somebody who used to cut his hair and chill. And he used to work with me at a place. I mean, you know, and it's just kind of interesting how small the world is in that regard, you know,
And
and it's
you
just
know,
cool.
like, that's cool that you know someone that used to cut his hair, because you know, like, barbers are like one of those people talk to like crazy when they're getting their hair cut. So I'm sure that barber has stories, man. I'd be fucking happy to get him on the show.
Yeah. Oh boy, you know, it's been some years since I talked to him, man. I don't want to name drop him, but the boy used to cut his hair and would bring some stuff to the studio, hang out at Screw's house when the tapes were being made. Because basically, what he said would happen is everybody that was there was going to show up, and Screw was going to start doing his thing, and people were going to jump on records, and nobody was going to leave until usually the next morning sometime. You know, they were there all night just recording and recording. And, you know, the people are shouting out each other who's in the room. And that's how some of that early stuff like June 27th and, you know, some of the other classics were made. Was just, they were just fam hanging out. You know what I mean? That
Absolutely.
legacy is just cool to follow.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people. Excuse me, I shouldn't be smoking weed while I do this. But I know you know, like a lot of the MCs, like obviously when it started, the like the main place that everyone, like the whole faction of hip hop was, everyone was focused on East Coast, like New York and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
as it should be, if people are learning, they'll learn that it was birthed in the East. But I think the people from the era like that you started in my era when I was making music, and even till now, the people who start making hip hop, they don't realize how big an effect that Southern hip hop had when it first started finally getting actually the
Oh,
recognition it
dude.
deserved.
And they're different. They're different. The thing to think about too is like there's different avenues and different sounds and different styles and stuff that came out. Because let's say, okay, the very early. So you can't mention Southern hip hop and really hip hop in general without mentioning the Ghetto Boys, right?
Facts.
And they're from Houston, man. And they're you're talking 84, 80, 86, whatever, you know, or very early. I mean, I was a baby, and that was, I mean, not far removed from what was going on in you know the East Coast and New York and stuff like that. You're not talking that many years removed,
No.
you know. And without Scarface's influence, you know, there's so many in Houston that you know wouldn't have been able to come along. And that's, you know, that's my biggest influence, and definitely my favorite artist is definitely Scarface.
Yeah,
Probably where I've gotten most of my influence from, you know, is jamming him.
and so speaking of Ghetto Boys, man, rest in peace to Bushwick Bill, because he was always dope. I loved him, man. He was just he,
Real quick, not to interrupt you, man, but that guy lived in Galveston, where I'm from, at the end of
I,
his life,
actually I
and
was gonna say.
I took care of him at a restaurant that I used to work at. Several times he came in, you know what I'm saying, and that dude is just was one of the coolest dudes, man. He really was.
Did you said you came into the restaurant you worked at or you went to?
No, that I worked at. I was the maitre d' for a historic restaurant here on the island for a long time, and he would come in there to eat with some of his people on a pretty regular basis, and we would take care of them, man, and get them set up, and I always would let the staff know, hey, man, y'all look out for these guys, you know, because they wouldn't know who he was, you know, they were all a bunch of kids, you know, so it was fun, it was fun.
Did you ever get a chance to have like a fair, at least a fairly lengthy conversation with them, or were you just more just let's treat them right and then just let them
I try to
be
like
about their
have his anonymity, you know, let him enjoy his experience
yeah
there, and you know, I definitely let him know like, hey, I know who you are, and I appreciate you coming in here, man. You know what I mean? And we kind of left it at that, you know. But
that's
a lot of
cool.
people that
That's
was working
cool.
there didn't know. They just didn't. They didn't even know. You know.
Yeah, it's cool though because like I've always felt like if you see an artist out and about, like walking down the street or something, and you see him, then all right, try and approach him and have a conversation. But if like a dude's at your restaurant or something and he's with his people, he's having a night out, just eating, man, like let him be a normal person, you know, like don't interrupt that. Like it's like it brings me to like that idea, like when Eminem was spitting his verse and he was talking about the guy trying to get a signature while he's taking a shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, and then when I
Yeah.
heard that, I'm like, yo, you know what? This dude's so right. Now that I think about it, like when I was younger, I'm like, oh, if I ever see anyone famous, I don't care where they're at, I'm gonna
What,
run chase them and talk to them. But no, man,
what's a
like,
better,
like
what's a better, more modern example than what we were talking about earlier in the DMs about Andre? You
yeah,
know, somebody who kind of gotten to get back to a little, like he said, a sense of normalcy, and doing something that he was brand new at in a way that he enjoyed, you know, and getting to learn something new. And you know, as an artist myself, I can relate to that, you know, and any person who's in it, not, you know, for I'm definitely in it for the artistry of the craft, can appreciate, even if you step outside of another genre, especially if you take a swing into left field. I mean, you know, I
yeah.
mean, to me, that's the definition of it, you know?
Speaking of Andre, dropping that album and how, like you were saying, like it's out of left field, but like, you know, like if you've been following him since, like, you know, like he was dropping collabs with other people here and there, and every collab he did, he was just phenomenal, like beyond like what you expected, you
um,
know, because he had stopped
that killer
rapping,
Mike,
like
that killer Mike.
man, when he raps, it's like I always have to replay it, even if I just go back to his verse. I have to listen again because I know I missed something, you know. And like
Mm-hmm.
still to this day, I listen to like ATLians or Atlians. Everybody says it different. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
Stankonia. Today I was at a thrift shop looking at some records and shit because uh, an artist I'm working with and just finally built a studio at his house, got everything done. So I was looking for records that I could potentially get sampled and stuff. So I'm going through it, and I found Stankonia on fucking vinyl for 99 cents.
Oh, wow. That's
Bro, I
crazy.
looked at it. It was like a hip hop tear came out of my eye, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "This is like, I don't know what to say." And don't get me wrong,
That is a great
Stankonia is
man,
not
man.
my Stankonia is a fantastic album from them. It's not my favorite one, but it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
definitely like it's one of those records just to have, like mint condition, 99 cents. I like looked on it. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with it? There's got to be something
Yeah.
wrong with it. And if I play that record and it doesn't have any sound, I'm gonna be pissed. You know, and my luck shit. So like that's something that would happen to me.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, you know, I mean, think about it this way, man. I mean, if you know, maybe the music entities or the force or whatever is looking out for you, you know, at least every now and then, you know.
Maybe
Hopefully.
maybe your Jedi Force is what helped me because I
Yeah, there you
posted just a few minutes ago telling people like the interview's happening now. Please come by your own power and not by his force.
go.
You know, so
Oh, that's great. That's great.
but so
Yeah.
while we're on that topic, what I know obviously you're a Star Wars fan, as am I, but to be honest, when I was younger and the movies were coming out, I wasn't really all that big into them because maybe it was just the length of them and like I just couldn't have the attention span. But
Yeah.
as I got older into my teen years and stuff, I became a fan of like everything and I started following it. And obviously Jo3.B.1, like you said, is a play on Obi-Wan, but how did that come about? Like, were you a hip hop fan first or a Star Wars fan first?
Man, I mean both.
I like when
Both.
people get like looking around like, "Ooh, how the fuck do I answer that one?"
Yeah, I have to think about it a little bit, but really both. I mean, I was born in '84, so Star Wars: Return of the Jedi had just came out maybe a year or two before, and in those days, VHS moved a lot slower than streaming service.
Hell yeah!
So it wasn't that odd for me and my family to be watching Star Wars when I was 3, 4, 5 years old. So, and my parents both were fans of them when they came out, and went and saw them in the theater. So it was just kind of a part of the ethos of our family in a way. But at the same time, I grew up in kind of a very interesting environment. So my parents, my dad quit his six-figure job as a vice president of some company in Houston, and also gave up a pretty severe powder habit to open up a homeless shelter and become a pastor and take care of homeless people. And so
kudos to that, man. That's something I really, really respect, because like the full length podcast. Sorry to interrupt, but the full length podcast I do was very, very heavily focused on the arts, mental health and illness, and like substance abuse and things like that. And like a lot of mental health and mental illness goes hand in hand with some substance abuse, depending on what you're doing and how much you're doing of it. But so I really, really appreciate that your father does something like that, man. I always have to give kudos to people that do important things like that, because I don't feel like people realize how important that is, especially in states like your own and like all throughout America, even Canada's. Like the homeless rate is just beyond me for a small country like the way we are. But it's not always the size of the country. It's based off a lot of factors, and so it's real tough. But yeah, kudos to your pops, man.
But yeah, and that was an interesting spot, man. I mean, there was a church there, and he ended up taking over it and converted so much of it into living space. And we had usually about 120, 40 or so at any given time, and they were all basically some of them were in like job training programs and getting on the road to counseling and so on. And my dad was like cooking 3 meals a day and doing 5 church services a week, and helping getting these people all back on their feet. And so I kind of had an interesting upbringing, and in both of those things it kind of taught me a lot. And for some reason the hip hop was just prevalent, man. A lot of the people that were homeless were people of color. They're very disadvantaged. And I mean, in the early 90s, it was a lot harder here than it is right now, to a certain extent. And there was a lot more.
A whole different time, a whole different world.
It was, and and so it was. I don't know, and so many different people. I mean, from all walks of life, and talking about people that were, some of them were like former millionaires and like engineers and people with degrees and all this stuff, and some of them were mental health people. But what was crazy was how many of them were women and kids. And I mean, the majority of the people that came through were like single moms and their kids.
I feel like that's
and anyway,
still a big
that was like hip
statistic
hop was everything. But what were you saying? Sorry about that.
I was just saying, I feel like the statistic in homelessness and stuff is, you often see it. It's a single parent with kids, whether it's a father and their kids or a mother and their kids. But a lot of the times you see that the kids have been intertwined into the cycle that couldn't be broken by whichever or both parents. And it's unfortunate. Not that it's not like blaming the parents. I'm just saying it's a cycle that people don't seem to realize, that it's a generational cycle usually, that if they weren't taught the way to further themselves rather than just try to stay complacent in like the position they're at, and then they end up going even bigger downward spiral to the point that they're homeless. Now the children are with them. They feel like it's normal when they're growing up in it. You know what I mean? So it's definitely one of those things that like is hard. It's a hard topic to like really talk and focus on because no, not focus on. Sorry, that sounds stupid to me. It's a real hard topic to like have conversations about with people who
It's complex.
haven't really been through it or they haven't really like given it attention. Like it's something that's just something they see and it's like that. Not me. Well, like you said, you saw millionaires, you know? So people are like, oh, no, like, how could a millionaire go broke like that? Well, I'll tell you, brother, it's easy as hell.
Yeah, I'm talking about like former NFL players, you know, and other athletes, and I mean, dude, so many different types of people from all walks of life, but the thing is too is like even back then in the '90s, people women were making like 60 cents to the dollar or something that men were. I mean, there's a lot of crazy different things going on here in Texas. It's also very hard to get help. You know, there's not a whole lot of government systems here set up to help people with disadvantage or in a bad place. And I mean, you know, everyone said, you know, anybody has the potential, you know, that's healthy and stuff to pull themselves up. But something that life has taught me is that sometimes trauma and what you've been through personally, the losses you've experienced or the bruises and bumps that you've taken along the way can affect how you respond to future things, you know, sometimes positively, but sometimes negatively. And all it takes is a few mistimed negative responses to things to all of a sudden find yourself, you know, on your back going, wait a minute, how'd I get here? You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. And like, actually, I agree because I've been there myself. So I absolutely know what you mean. I mean, like I've had my own addiction issues. I have my own mental health and mental illness
Yeah,
issues, and I've
I
been
mean,
transparent.
I'm from the land of that purple drink. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like I told you, bro. All I gotta say to answer that and in reply to that is, I told you I was a big Southern listener. So like, you know, like I was a big fan of the Purple Drank too. So like, I
That's
mean,
so good.
I
That's
see
so funny.
it pass by me at parties and shit sometimes. Still, I'm like, oh, you motherfuckers.
but but okay, but that goes again to kind of talk about one of the was as to the reach and the stretch and the influence that Screw ended up having, you know, and even having passed as young as he did, you know, and whatnot. Just to think about that, because I was there at the beginning of it, and so to think about somebody and I mean. It was weird for me to think about somebody in Austin hearing like the latest Screw tape. You know, like Austin's like 6 hours, 5 hours from me. You know what I mean? It's like right down the street. So to hear, it's just like it goes to show like you can't really discount, you know, nobody can really discount what they did, you know, and it's different than like say what we were talking about AT Aliens, you talk about, you know, Outkast or Goody Mob and the Dungeon Fam, any of those, or you talk about Master P and that era and everything that he did, some of the stuff that he started, or you know, and I mean, you can throw Birdman and them in there too, and everything that they did and everything they started. I mean, there's like, or go to Florida and you can talk about Trick Daddy and everything that he did. You know, like there was so many impacts made by so many Southern artists, and I can go on and on and on and on. I mean, you know, David Banner, and you know, there's just so many.
David Banner. Wow, man. Cadillac on 22s is still on my playlist. I love that track.
But I think about like a story a lot of people don't know unless you're from here is like how like a pimp, you know, David Banner and Lil Flip's from Houston, and
Yeah, actually,
when,
I'm connected. I have a professional connection with Black Al Capone, his right hand from Clover Gang. He's
okay,
he's on. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he's an artist under Clover Gang, but he's like Flips, like I think best friends or whatnot. Anyways, I was lucky enough to get in contact with him, so I
that's
have
pretty cool.
something with Lil Flip on the way, coming an interview soon.
Oh, that'd be awesome, man.
Hell yeah!
You know,
And
but
when he's
like
like, "Yeah, I'll do it," I was like, "Yes."
that's amazing. That's amazing, man. But you know, like when Flip was first coming out here in Houston, you know, he wasn't like immediately well received here, and then he went and kind of self financed himself on a tour of different areas and doing some of his music, and along the way met some of these people, and then dropped songs like a pimp
Yeah.
and some other ones, and then next thing every now who they want, flip,
Yeah.
like, and it's crazy how that happened. But sometimes in your own hometown, and Pimp C talked about that a lot, man. And your own city, it would be the ones in your own city be the worst ones,
Yeah.
And he's literally saying, like sometimes it's harder to make it. You can go out of town and be, have a whole crowd at a club like going crazy over what you're doing because you're different seasoning than they're used to. You know what I mean? You're a different flavor than they're used to hearing and seeing, and but to my benefit, especially calling myself a Jedi rapper, I'm a different flavor than most people have ever seen. Like, so I've adapted my style from basically being a student of artists and their artistry, and even thinking about their psychology and what they're going through their music, like trying to discover that through their music. And that's a lost, I think, piece of what goes on with music to a certain extent,
Yeah, there's a lot of lacking of like trying to understand the artist, like you were saying, through their music. Because I'm like, when it came to music and the music I listened to growing up, and while I was making music, and even now, like when I listen to an album, like I I try to see like, or at least I try to assume, maybe it's not a great word, but what kind of like mood or like type of headspace they were in at that time. Because if you listen to an artist close enough and you actually really listen for those cadences that change throughout the album, you can tell that the first little bit of that album he was probably in a little bit of a dark spot, but then you get to like the middle to the like the ending of it, and like you see the tones and the cadences, and even the beats can tell a story sometimes change. Because
Yeah,
like
and there's
a lot of
some people
artists,
that do it. There's some people that do it organically, and then there's some people that do it, intentionally. And I love it
yeah,
when it's organic, like when it just happens, and
yeah,
it's not something like designed, like they're trying to design an emotional experience.
yeah,
Like I don't really vibe with that as much as like, a DMX album where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you can literally walk down his mood his mood swings on his album. You know what I mean?
absolutely, man. And like another person, man, I feel like we're talking about all the dead homies now. R.I.P. DMX. But
Oh,
uh,
absolutely.
you're
Hey,
right though. When it
the
comes
difference
to,
is I look at those guys as Jedi grandmasters, and because of that, I commune with their Force ghosts on a regular basis. So you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's a little bit different
uh,
for me. No,
just before I continue there, I was telling you about the artist that I'm working with
yes,
out
yes, yes,
here right
yes.
now that just built the studio. He just jumped in and said what's good. So what up, Hard You?
What's up, man?
So yeah, but like you're saying, like you can listen to a DMX album, and even if he's even if he's still got that aggressive yelling, barking flow on his song, like you could still kind of tell that what kind of headspace he was in.
Yeah.
Although he always seemed to try and keep it as loud and aggressive as he was, tried to
But
keep it as positive as he can.
if you go listen, honestly, if you go listen to And Then There Was X, it goes like there's like songs like I mean it literally kind of it takes you like this, and then it kind of brings you in, and then it tells you a little story, and then it brings you up again, like, and then he's got the prayer and
Yeah,
stuff on there, and then like in the Damien tracks, you know what I mean, kind of thrown
yeah,
in there to make you think about maybe the other voices that were going on in his head, and like and it almost being like almost like a cry for help, you know what I'm saying? To say like,
yeah,
I'm really going through this,
yeah,
like
definitely.
that's the way I hear it. That's the way I hear it.
No, you're right. Right, and like most of his albums have that real strong emotion to it, and most people are like, yeah, he made hard tracks, he was good, and then I'm like, yeah, but did you really listen though? Like, like his
Who we
songs,
be,
like,
who we be, people will clown on that sometimes when it came out. But if you really listen, and he's not like rapping in some like super dynamic way. I mean, the song is really simple. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
but the the message is so important, you know what I mean? And like the intention behind how he did it, I think is what made the depth of the message all that more heard. And, you know, like, I don't know. And to have that kind of consciousness to say, oh, if I just rap a bunch of words on this song, I could get my point across. But if I punch these bars in a intentional and slower way, I can really make these people who need to hear what I'm saying hear it.
Yeah, they'll
And
get the
I mean,
message. Yeah.
there's a
But
genius behind that I think is underappreciated
absolutely.
a little bit.
Absolutely, man. I agree with you 100% on that. Like, there's songs that I feel that are really underappreciated by him that I feel like he really, really like spoke from his like heart and soul. Like he did all the music, but like these ones, like A.O. Kato, like from I think it was from Grand Champ. I'm not sure. I haven't went back in a while. But there's also the tracks like The Rain, or The Rain is one of my all-time DMX favorite tracks. And then there's Ain't No Sunshine was another one with that sample.
Bro.
Like, bro, man, like, you know, like bro, how people are talking like top 5 this, top 5 that. I'm like, no. I'm like, erase it. I was like,
You can't,
go
but the
listen to
thing is,
everything again.
it's like you can't uh
It's
you
subjective,
can't just make
so
a
I can't even
definitive
like.
single top five. There's no way to make a single definitive top five, because I don't even put Tupac and Biggie in the same category of MC. So how in the world could I pit them two against each other in some kind of a hypothetical versus of what type of MC I'm listening to? Like, you know, when
Yeah,
I'm listening to Biggie, that's a whole different vibe, bro, than whenever I'm listening to Pac and I'm really trying to, you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
to what you'll be told nowadays. This may come across as a shock, but I listen to almost zero music, none.
bro.
I
If I'm
do not.
being honest, the most music, like I've been listening to a lot of music lately, and the only reason why is because I've been with Hard
You're
You, the
telling
artist
new
a
people
while
out
ago.
here, new
While he's
artists. Yeah, yeah,
driving,
yeah. You're telling people.
he's playing like his playlist all had music I was listening to way back in the day, and then like with a mix of the new stuff, so I'm able to like gather in some of it and stuff. But he started playing his music when we first met, and like playlist, all the shit was like the shit I was listening to when I was growing up and shit I was influenced by. So I was like, all right, I really do fuck with you, like. But then like when I'm at home, I'm so busy dealing like doing things like helping my Ma Dukes out and stuff. And then
Yeah,
I really don't have time to be listening to the music and then like trying to like focus on something as difficult as that. So I'm like, man, but I mean, don't get me wrong. If I'm out or whatever, and I'm at the crib alone or something, then yeah, I got music playing. You know, I put music on before I put the television on.
bro. I intentionally, I intentionally don't listen to almost. I mean, next to nothing.
I,
Unless I'm just a mood absolute strikes me that I gotta listen to something, or I'm checking, like someone says, hey bro, will you check out my song, kind of thing. You know, I'll do it. But in terms of like intentionally jamming, I don't. And my reasoning behind that is gonna probably sound insane, but I I feel unchained creatively by not feeling like I'm adhering to anything I'm listening to and the formats that they're using. So if I want to rap 16 bars or 32 bars or whatever, or I want to make, you know, 2 8 bars and I want to tell a story in the middle, or I want to, you know what I'm saying? However, I want to put the song together in some different way, because I also make the beats. Most of the beats that I use, I make myself.
oh, I didn't know
So
that you were the producer as well. I thought you.
yeah, yeah. I produce
See, I gotta
almost
say,
every.
because I had this conversation with a producer beat maker. Okay, and this is why I say it like that. So when I was talking to him in our interview, I told him, I'm uh like there. Do you think there's a difference between a beat maker and a producer? And I was like, because I do. I think there's a difference, because I don't think people realize what producing and executive producing actually means when it comes to like making an album and stuff. So I asked him, and he said, yeah, it is a different thing. So like Like, do you think as a rapper, because you're a rapper, he was a beat maker, producer, do you think there's a difference between beat maker and producer, or am I just overthinking it?
I think producers is shorthand, but technically a beat maker is just that. They are kind of like a sous chef.
Yeah, so like that's what I mean. Like they'll make the beat, but then when
But
the
I'm not.
person's
There's nothing
recording the
wrong with that.
song, but if the
But
person's at the studio recording the song and that beat maker's not there saying maybe we should change this or add this or something, then they just made the beat. They're not producing the song with you.
so yeah, oh, absolutely, and
Okay,
and and and
all right. So I'm
so
not
my
tripping.
no, but my thing is like I I learned to be it all myself. So I'm like a hermit, solo, antisocial
Bro,
dude.
what
Like,
I
it's
was
kind of weird.
making music,
It's rare for me
I
to do this.
self-taught
So,
myself. The
yeah,
only thing I never got to learn was to make beats, and that was by choice. I just self-taught myself mixing and everything when I was making music and shit. So that was it. And back then, the YouTube still wasn't fully developed, so there's no learn how to mix and master in 20 minutes. So I was like, it was
I learned.
self-taught, trial and error.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I learned all of that myself. I have people to this day that like ask me like, "What did you do to get that sound?" And my first response to almost everybody is, "If your microphone isn't doing most of your heavy lifting, then you need to rethink your microphone. You shouldn't be doing extensive amounts of mixing and effects work on your unless you're looking for a very specific sound for some artistic effect. Your mic should be doing most of the heavy lifting, man." Like, that's my
I
biggest
agree.
advice for people when they're starting their own studio, man. Like, and shout out to Neat Microphone Company. The King B OG is a wonderful microphone. They didn't pay me to say that. I just really like the microphone. I'm gonna turn
I was
into
like, hey.
a lightsaber hilt one day, man. It's like shaped. It's colored like a big bumblebee, and it's huge. It's like the size of a lightsaber hilt. So when I get the new one, I'm gonna hollow this one out and turn it into a lightsaber hilt.
so,
I'm a
so
nerd, bro. Not bad.
No, bro, man. Like I said, it's one of those type of interviews where it doesn't matter what's said because either way, like with other artists, I always have them back on because we always only end up scratching the surface because IG cut you at an hour. So,
Yeah.
but with like you said, you don't listen like purposely to music for like so your creativity is like your own, nothing like subconsciously adding to it,
But
maybe you would say. But
I want to
what
actually quote
inspires
somebody.
you outside of other music? What inspires you, like through, like, obviously I know you're a big Star Wars fan too, but like, do you feel like that inspires music?
No, well, okay. The Star Wars, the whole idea of being the hip hop Jedi is just it is giving what I'm saying in my music a little bit different vehicle. So because I, I don't know how to describe I mean, I can go rap and go hard and drop crazy bars and make crazy metaphors, but a lot of times I'm really trying to encourage people, tell a story that's trying to help somebody, uplift somebody who's maybe at the brink of like, I want to end it all, or you know what I'm saying, like, or just looking for a voice that's saying like, hey, I'm feeling all kinds of out of sorts, and actually that's normal, and you're gonna survive this. You know what I mean? Like, I try to make music that wraps that kind of story together and tell the stories of like the internal battles and using the light versus the dark is kind of like a vehicle to help tell that story, and almost, I don't want to say cosplay exactly, but basically embody what it means, in my music and in my day to day life of like how a Jedi would help somebody, and it sounds crazy, man, but it honestly it empowered me in a way to say, you know what, man, because I used to go by a completely different moniker. I used to go by Big Joe. I used to drop really classic type of music. I mean, I
That's what
always said wise
my
stuff,
family calls me. My
you
family
know.
calls me Big Joe. They shortened my name Jordan to Joe. They call me Big Joe. You know what?
That's
This is getting a
wow.
little too real for me, bro. This is getting a
That's
little too fucking real
wow.
for me.
That's wow.
I'm telling
But
you,
uh,
man.
but
I'm telling you, bro.
but so and I mean, it wasn't like I mean, I've done that for bruh. I'm talking like, basically 20 years. I only just recently started this Jo3.B.1 thing about 3 years ago, and I went from somebody who would get like, I mean, I would sell CDs whenever we was physical media, but whenever we got into the social media and streaming age, I really kind of got left behind for a while, and I didn't really understand how to even do any of that.
Trust me,
And
bro. When I start releasing this new music I'm supposed to release, I'm gonna be left behind for a little bit too, man. Because I'm from the era still where I was driving around with friends, opening up the trunk and taking out fucking CDs and
yeah,
being like, "Yo, $5 a pop, come on."
luckily I ended up with some younger people around me because I was same thing. I ended up with some people around me that hit me to like how to use social media to my advantage, how to basically make it an extension of myself and be genuine and to watch. Essentially, you'll just watch your following and views and everything grow because people are going to find themselves interested in it naturally. And the folks that aren't are going to either troll or move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but I went from like basically selling, again, physical copies to like my first album ending up on between all the platforms, in the, 20 to 30,000 stream range, and I'm not mad at that.
No, man, and you should. Those, you know what, man? And like you said, like you're from like the era that we were making that you started making music in the era I was making music, and it was still pretty much the era when I stopped making my music was just before the streaming services where it was all about physical LPs, about physical everything, like not all this like new and shows too, like not this pay to fucking perform bullshit that people are on right now. Like it was you're either on the bill because you're good or you're not on the fucking bill. All right, it's simple as that. Or you're on the bill because you have a homie that got you fucking on it. Other than that, you're just in the fucking building. You know what I mean?
Man,
So at shows you would sell merch there too if you had it, and a lot of people in that era still weren't thinking about this whole I gotta brand myself like a brand instead of just an artist. Like yeah, you could rap, but so does like 50% of the people that were just at the show. They're just not on the bill. Like it was about skill and a little bit of luck back then, and
yeah,
now it's like either people are just getting lucky at like they got viral, so now all their shit's
yeah,
popping, or they've been busting their ass to get it, and that's where you fall into that era because you were used to the physical copy era. So for you to come in and say like I kind of got left behind, but I learned it, and then you're saying you hit the 20, 30,000 number range, bro. If I hit 20,000, 30,000 fucking views in fucking 4 years when I start releasing new music, I'll be fucking happy about it. Like I never cared about the numbers. Like even on my interviews and shit, people are like, "Yo, aren't you concerned about how much numbers you have?" I'm like, "Not really, because the analytics tell a different story." So like, I'm
yeah,
not really concerned about numbers on it. You know what I mean? Like, but obviously, if I can get a whole shit ton of numbers and monetize off it, that would be really fucking helpful. But
listen,
I don't do it for that. I do it because of conversations like this. But do you
yeah,
feel like
absolutely.
you've gotten like the gist of like what you have to do to make sure like when you drop another project that you could hit that same peak, that number, or even better?
I I I think that like that's kind of what I'm working on right now is like continuing to build up the following that I have, and kind of because now I've got a bunch of them asking me. Like I dropped two projects in 22, and I got them
Okay,
asking me, "What's next? What's next? What's next?"
that's
And
good.
well, I've had stuff happen. I've had a bunch of stuff happen that kind of put me back, and including like parts of my studio that that I'm working on replacing right now, and kind of getting pieces here and there. But I still have the guts of what I need. But there's some things that I love to have on hand that really make my job a little bit easier. And so, I'm basically putting that together, and I'm trying not to be George R. Martin of this. You know what I'm saying? Working on Winter for the last 10 years and never going to finish it kind of thing. I've got actually three projects, basically ready. Once I fire the studio up, it don't take me long. I used to do a segment called Record and Drop Thursday, and I would literally go on live on Wednesday or make a video of me making a beat on Wednesday, sometimes I would just do it all on Thursday, but then I would literally record, mix, master, and drop on SoundCloud that very same day, usually within about an hour and a half. And then people were just jumping on that, like, hold on, wait a minute, you're dropping a song every day, record and drop Thursday, let's go. And that's where some of the stuff that you hear on my projects on Spotify and stuff came from, because it generated like this, oh, dude, wait a minute, Joe's got something going on. And a big thing that helped out with that, man, was a buddy of mine. I approached him. He has a label out of Milwaukee, and I came to him and was like, yo, bro, I've always wanted to work with you, man. Let's do something. And he was like, bet, man. I've just been waiting for you to ask. So now, pretty much, man, I just send it off, man. Once I get stuff done and we get it put out, you know.
Yeah, bro. See you see a lot of people. They like their reels and stuff. Yeah, Blue Hefner, bro. Blue Hefner is a solid artist. You got to check him and his stuff out, bro. He's definitely a dope artist.
That's a bet.
And that's what this show is also for people to connect with new people and do shit, and hopefully collab. You know, I like making those like accidental like connections I didn't mean to make, but they happened.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of people messaging me like, yo, I just did a song with so and so. I'm like, was that because of the episode you watched? And they're like, yes. I'm like, yes. But the record and drop Thursday thing is dope because it's different than a lot of other people who try to like show that they're making music and then all that, but they make reels of like their song being recorded at that time. But like yours, you were making a beat, showing them you're making a beat, and then dropping the song on the beat like on the next day or whatnot, whatever have you. But that's dope because it's literally something I haven't seen people do like in that sequence.
It was
and in that type of fashion.
Segment, man. So, it was a fun segment, and it kind of got people like it let people in on like my process, because it doesn't take, like, some people, they need time to like with a beat and they need time to write their lyrics and stuff, but I've been doing this for so long that I have like encyclopedias of lyrics in my brain that just are dying to come out, you know. And that's part of the reason for my self-imposed solitude I told you about, man. Like, it's another thing. It's like I'm a horse ready to come out of the gate, you know what I mean? Like, every time I'm ready to hit the microphone, or anytime I get an opportunity to hit the stage, which my social anxiety, which is very high, doesn't let me do very often, but I still will occasionally get asked to come out. And I mean, I get asked to come out all the time, but I still will occasionally pop up, you know what I mean, and do something live for people. And it's something I'm trying to get back into, man, and just find my feet and my self-confidence again. You know, that's been a big part of it.
Just because I don't know when Instagram's going to be a jerk and cut us off, I have a question from someone that's in the live right now. They said, "How do you focus pressure?" I guess
how do I
they
focus?
mean like if you feel pressured, how do you like focus it so you don't feel as pressured? Is that what you mean? If that's not what you mean, please correct it. But I'm assuming that's what it meant.
I find pressure motivating. So if I feel a certain level of pressure, it doesn't send me to if I get a few seconds to close my eyes and visualize what it is that I want to do, it's happening. It's going to get done. I mean, I'm maybe not dunk a basketball, but lyrically, you know what I mean? You know, I'm getting a little old.
Bro. You know, white man can't jump. But we'll just make that the answer.
But yeah, to answer your question, pressure to me is a benefit and is a motivating factor. And a lot of times what I do is just try to visualize it in my head, visualize myself succeeding at it, and then I go for it, you know. And the lyrics are there. You know, that comes from reading, you know, being prepared, you know. Reading is everything. Read as much as you can about subjects that really stretch your understanding.
That's so many artists to read the dictionary, man. If they read the dictionary, their vocabulary would be so much more broad.
Honestly, I tell people just to find a subject you enjoy and dive in. You know, avoid tabloids and stuff like that. But you know, if it's journalistic stuff, jump into that. If it's, you know, history type stuff, get into that. If it's science, do that. If it's fiction, you know, do it. Because what it'll do is it'll naturally, you'll go, what is this? What does this phrase mean? And how do these words come together to mean this? And what is this trying to get me to mean? And that might motivate you to go type it into Google or ask somebody. And then all of a sudden your understanding of how to use the language goes a little bit further. And that expands your ability in the pen game. You know, at least that's the way I view it. You know what I'm saying? It's hugely helpful.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. Just so it doesn't brutally cut us off and I don't get to end it on a thank you note, I'm gonna just cut this one now. But we're definitely gonna have you back on, bro. Feel like you can come on anytime and we could just have a whole conversation about DJ Screw if you wanted to. That'd be dope. But
yeah,
bro,
let me know, man.
I'm down, bro. I'm telling you, bro. I'm down. It's too bad. I'm off the fucking purple drink nowadays, but I would have definitely double cupped the shit out of that episode. But but bro, I wanna again, everybody, Jo3.B.1, he's out of Galveston, Texas. Oh, like you said, home with DJ Screw, man. I really appreciate you coming on for episode 145, bro. We're just about to hit our 150th milestone episode. We just hit 100 just a couple months back, so we really fucking shot. Really, like, we were doing episodes like crazy, man. So, like, I appreciate you coming on for episode 145 and coming on last minute. It was spontaneous today, but I'm glad it happened. I like when it happens like that, bro. So, again, everyone, Jo3.B.1. And man, I really appreciate you coming on, dude. And hopefully you can come on again soon. Just let me know what days work for you. We'll have you on anytime, bro.
Sounds good, man. And everybody watching, I appreciate your time today. Much love, and may the force be with you guys, man. Check me out on all the socials. I'm always down if you need anything.
Yeah, Jo3.B.1, Ryan Noby. That's what I'm going to call you from now on. Jo3.B.1, Ryan Noby. But definitely, bro, man. Like, I'm really glad Jim introduced us there on that Facebook thing, and that it really fucking. I'm glad that we had the conversation, man. And like all episodes, I'm your man Hanley, Jo3.B.1, Ryan Noby, and episode sponsored by Diamonds Rising out of Hobbs, New Mexico. Make sure you go check them out if you can. My little sunny side up egg pendant from the homie Jack Hellington out here in Canada from his sunny side up project. And yeah, bro, definitely great talking to you, and we'll stay in contact on DMs, and we'll figure something out again soon, bro.
That's a bet, man. Sounds good.
Appreciate you, bro. Peace.
Later.